Are you recording? 3 words. All right, so welcome to all of those who are on the replay as well. I'm going to invite you to start by taking 3 really deep breaths, hand on heart. And as you're doing this, I'm inviting you to tune in and find 3 words. 3 words that represent how you are feeling right now and what is alive. I'm going to invite you to put them in the chat. So tonight we are going through the inner wealth module. We're going to be talking about valuing ourselves as humans and also as creators, valuing the work that we do, and how we can cultivate high self-esteem, high self-worth, and raise our vibration. So we've talked in previous weeks about vibrational, being in vibrational alignment, being a vibrational match, how vibration is really at the core of manifestation, right? And how when we want to manifest something, it's really about aligning our vibration with the thing that we want, right? Or the feeling that we want. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this. How do we actually raise our vibration? What does it actually mean in really practical, normal terms? Okay. So awesome. Now let's go over 3 words. So we've got, where can I see the chat? Scattered but hopeful. Okay. Awesome. So Lauren, you can just speak yours out if you want. Oh no, you've got yours. Overwhelmed but relax in other ways. Growing. Beautiful. Growing. Awesome. All right. So what we're going to do to raise our vibration to start this session is we're going to get in our bodies, right? So I'm going to play this song called Up Your Vibration. It's by a beautiful friend of mine. You may know her. Her name is Sahida Apsara. So yeah, if you're sitting down, stand up, get in your body. If you can position the camera, that's cool. Otherwise you don't need to have it on. And we're going to spend 3 minutes just getting in our body, dancing, moving, go with your flow, tune into your body, tune into what she needs today, or he or she. And, no, this is not what I was about to play. Here we go. All right, so this is Up Your Vibration. Take some really deep breaths. And feel into what your body needs. Your body might want slow stretching. Maybe your body wants some vigorous movement. So go with what feels really good. Start to put your own little flavor, give it some attitude, give it some spice, really feel in yourself, let yourself fully take up space right now.
So find a way that feels really good for your body today. Yes.
All right. Take a few really deep breaths. So just feeling your heart beating, feeling your heart racing. Breathe deep into your belly. Big, long, slow exhale. And tell me 3 words right now. How are you feeling right now? What's alive? 3 words. So, all right. So, inner wealth. We're going to start by talking about value. Okay. Warmer, more expansive. Yeah. So, one of the quickest way to shift our vibration is to really just get in our body, right? To actually just breathe, to move, to feel, and like music and dance. That's why it's just so powerful. Lauren's saying invigorated, excited, calm. Yeah. So this is one of the quickest way to shift our vibration. If you're in a funk, if you're feeling heavy or low, or you're just like down or up in your head, over analyzing, over processing things. Quickest way to shift your vibe: put a music, put a song on, feel your body, dance, breathe, move, let the energy move through. Right? Remember, emotion is energy in motion. It needs to move. It needs a place to come through. So, I'm gonna ask you a question, and then I'm gonna tell you a little story. So the first question that I want to ask you is, do you feel, I got 2 questions. Do you feel like a high value person? Do you feel like someone that you would prioritize to spend time with, to hang out with? Yeah. Do you feel like a high value person? And I also want to ask, is there anything that comes up for you, and we can even workshop it tonight? Is there anything that comes up for you around value, around valuing yourself, or valuing your artistry, valuing your business, valuing the work that you do? Or, yeah, it could even just be valuing yourself in relationships, or valuing yourself as a human in general. Okay. And while you're reflecting on that, you're welcome to put it in the comments, or even just take some notes, and we can workshop it together. I want to tell you a little story. So, once upon a time, there was a father, and he gave his son these 2 stones. And he told his son, take these stones to market with you, and if anybody wants to buy them, don't say a word, don't say anything, but just hold up 2 fingers, right? And see what they say. So he goes down to the market, he takes these stones to the market, and he's got his little stall set up, and people are coming, they're showing interest, and someone comes up and says, okay, oh, how much for these stones? He holds up 2 fingers, he doesn't say a word, and they say, $2, I'll take it, $2, bargain. He goes home, he doesn't sell them. He goes home to his dad, he says, Dad, they offered me $2 for the stones, but I didn't sell them. He said, okay, all right, son, now I want you to take those stones and I want you to go down to the museum, and I want you to take the stones to the museum, and if anybody tries to buy them, don't say a word, just hold up 2 fingers and see what they say. So he says, okay, he goes down to the museum. He has these stones there on display. People come up, they want to buy them. They ask him how much. He holds up 2 fingers. And they say, $200? I'll take it. Right? He takes the stones, he goes home and says, Dad, we got offered $200 for these stones. Can you believe it? I say, yeah, okay, son. So now I want you to take those stones and I want you to take them down to the precious stone store, right? Down on Chapel Street or wherever. Okay. And if anybody wants to buy them, don't say a word, just hold up 2 fingers. So he does. He goes down there. He goes into this precious jewelry store with all of these unique precious stones from all around the world. And he shows the shopkeeper the stones. He says, how much? Holds up 2 fingers. He says, 200,000. I'll take it. These are some of the rarest diamonds in the world. I will take it. $200,000. Give it to me. Right? So the little boy runs home. He tells his dad, Dad, we got offered $200,000. Like, can you believe it? And these are like rare, precious stones. Like, and his father says, yeah, in life, your value is determined on who you surround yourself with. You can be the rarest diamond in the world, but if you are spending your time at the market or the museum, or if you are in environments where the value is not recognized, it's not acknowledged, or it's not even that it's not recognized, acknowledged, it's just that those people are not able to identify the quality, the rare quality that those stones possess, right? And so this story is so important when it comes to our own value as humans, right? Because value is contextual. And as artists, as creators, as entrepreneurs, we don't get paid for the time. It's not the Monday to Friday clock in, clock out time that we're getting paid for. We get paid for the amount of value that we provide, right? So, for example, Beyonce, I read recently that Beyonce charges around she paid $4 million for her concert at Coachella a couple of years ago, right? So the difference between Beyonce getting paid $4 million and we getting paid 1,000 or 100, or the local person playing covers at the bar getting paid a couple $100, what's the difference, right? The difference is the value that is attributed to that brand, right? And it's also like, it's not that one is better than the other, but value is determined by the context, by the needs, right, of the people who are around you. So, for example, if you grew up, and I spoke about this in the module video, if you've listened to the module video, if you grew up in a family or a household where the codes of your family were held a lot of importance or put a lot of value on things like, let's say, academic work, or I'll say, for example, I grew up on a farm, right? So what was really highly valued in my household was hard physical labor, right? That was seen as important. That was seen as something that contributed value to the home, to the household. Something like arts, singing a song or doing a dance, isn't ever going to be valued in my household, right? That doesn't mean that my family don't love me. My parents love me, they absolutely adore me, but it's just that code is not held in their values, right? You can be the best artist, the best creator, the best musician in the whole world, but if it's not valued by the people around you, they'll never be able to actually recognize it or acknowledge it. Okay. So a flip side of that, I use this example in the module video, is that Nikolai grew up in a family full of artists, right? His mom's a writer, a poet. His brothers are all filmmakers, artists, designers, photographers, dancers, painters. Like, the whole family are all creatives, right? And so When Nikolai works on a painting, he is in full conviction that that is the most valuable use of his time, that he's actually doing God's work. He's doing the work he was fully put here on the planet to do. And it's so highly valued in their family and celebrated, right? So this is what we want to start to look at, okay? Like, so what was valued in your family, within your family codes, your tribal codes, like we talked about in the previous weeks? What was seen as really highly valued? Um, and yeah, so okay, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Um, the value that we set for ourselves is the value that we receive. Okay. And when we are not holding ourselves in a high level of value, when we don't really understand the worth that our work contributes, or if we don't even feel like we as human beings are valuable, or our self-esteem, right, is impacted, then this is going to show up for us. This is going to be reflected all the time, right? In terms of, we might be like doing things for free. We might be getting asked to, do discounts on things, like whatever it is that we accept and allow, whatever value point that we are putting ourselves at. You can be the rarest diamond in the world with so much to give and create. But if we don't have like a high esteem and a high sense of worth, both in ourselves, but in what we do, and really know the value of that, and know that we're worthy of it and that we deserve it, then we are constantly going to be in this tug of war, right? With being offered shitty things that don't actually align with our value. And it has to come from a really deep vibrational level, right? So what I mean by that is, if we overinflate our ego, if we try to make out that we're bigger and better and we're more experienced and we're more qualified and we're more popular and we have a massive following, and we kind of put ourselves on this pedestal, but it's not actually really lining up with the vibe that you're emitting. And I'm sure that you all know someone like this. You all know an artist like this with a massive ego, right? That if we don't have the ability to be able to back that, then we're gonna have this thing. All right, so my friends and I, we call it energy fuckery. I don't know if there's a technical term for it, but we call it energy fuckery, right? It's like the universe, if you are not fully clear on your deserving and that you are worthy, right? The universe is going to fuck around with it. You're going to find a way to lose that opportunity. Things will fall through. Parking fines will come in. It's like when people inherit large amounts of money, but they've never actually worked on their wealth resonance before. They've never actually been able to hold large amounts of money, right? They will find a way to lose that. Like, they will lose that money within a few months. They'll find ways to spend it on, or they won't be able to consciously invest it into things, right? Because there's a sense of like not being worthy, or not having a sense of actually deserving on a core level, right? And the same thing, like if we if we depreciate our value, if we think that we're not good, we put ourselves down, we kind of lower our value point to what it is, and sometimes that can be like the tall poppy thing that we've talked about. It's really big in Australia, the kind of over humbling, it's like feeling like, yeah, like we're not good enough, or not really taking up space or putting ourselves out there. Energy fuckery is going to happen again, right? The universe is always seeking to bring us back in alignment and back into balance with what our resonance is, okay? So when we find ourselves not getting valued, it's important for us to check in with our own sense of deserving, right? So the questions, some of the journal questions that I invited you to go through this week was around like, how does your work actually serve people? How does it actually help people? What value does it provide, right? And I want to approach this from a really holistic perspective, but one of the things that I want to touch on right now is money. Money is a big trigger point for all humans. It's one of the most taboo topics, right? Sex and money, some of the biggest taboo topics on the planet. And it's a big thing for artists too, because I constantly see artists like devaluing themselves, right? And also not really getting adequately valued by society either. Okay, not getting paid properly, not getting honored for the actual value that they provide. And so if I flip back to, what's the difference between Beyonce and someone playing covers at the local bar, or what's the difference between a BMW and a Ford, right? Practically, there's, structurally, they're both cars, right? Structurally, they're both musicians, but one has built a brand around it that has credibility, that has a following, that has a whole kind of image and vibe and style. It's as artists, again, what I was saying, it's not necessarily the 9 to 5 time that we're getting paid for. It's things like following. How many people are you attracting to a venue? You know, has your artwork been featured in a certain gallery or in a certain magazine or a certain article, or even you see artists who have been had their work kind of promoted by other big people in the industry, and it's a sense of credibility that is gained through that. So these are all things on a professional level that determine our value. And it's also like, it's really important for us to, in terms of stepping into valuing ourselves, is to open up to an abundance mindset, right? So when we are in a scarcity mindset, it's like it's the opposite of abundance. It's like there's a shortage. We have to take what we can get. We have to, even if we're not being treated right, or even if we're not getting paid well, or even if we're not getting valued, or we're not, having a good time. It's like if we're in a scarcity, if we're operating from a space of scarcity, it's like we're kind of clinging, that neediness of hanging on to whatever we can get, you know. But when we really, really value ourselves, when we really know our worth, when we know what we do, when we know how we help, right? And who we help, this is a really important thing. This is what you would have gone through in your brand brief last week as well. When you know who you help and how you help them, there's suddenly a whole lot more value that can be attributed to what it is that you do, right? And as creators, this can be a really hard thing, because sometimes the value that we provide can be quite intangible, right? It's like, it's not always a physical product that someone's going to take home and put on the shelf. It's not a BMW someone's parking in the garage, right? But it's like, maybe your painting or your song touched that person on such a deep level, or maybe it allowed them to access a certain healing in their heart that they hadn't experienced before. Maybe it brought up memories or reminded them of their grandma, or moments they had when they were a child that just brought a certain joy, or maybe it was just a moment that gave them courage or strength. Like the value that we provide is often intangible, right? And so that's why it's important that we really anchor into our being the worth that it holds, right? And that we know what it is. So, is this all making sense? Is this resonating? Is everybody feeling this, following this?
It's
Okay.
making really good sense.
Yeah? Okay. So, how do we shift? How do we shift from a place of scarcity and lack, and feeling that there's not enough, or feeling that we're not getting valued, or we don't value ourselves, and how do we shift that into a place of abundance, of prosperity, of knowing that there's more than enough, that there's an overflow, right? So We have to know that we deserve it. First thing is we have to know what we deserve, because you always get what you expect, and you will always get what you think you deserve, and you will always get what you accept. Okay? When in negotiations, if you stop accepting those things, or if you just even having like the ability to go, I'm going to put my prices up, you know, I put my, oh, when was the I haven't put my prices up for a while, but when was it last time? It's probably about 6 months ago. I put my prices up, and there was a moment where I just energetically had to feel into what feels right, and like actually knowing, okay, what is it that I offer? What's the space that I'm able to hold? And like, what's the impact that it has on people's life, and how valuable is that? And there's a thing that I do sometimes where, you know, even when I'm helping clients kind of price out their offers, or helping people kind of work out, okay, what feels right, you'll feel it in your body, practicing even speaking it out loud. You know, it's like, how much is that painting? It's $3,000. If your voice shakes or trembles, or you don't actually, if you're like, it's $3,000, you know, if there's some kind of contraction that's happening on an energetic level, the universe is not going to match that. The energy fucker is going to come in, right? You're going to have someone be like, no, no thanks, right? It's not being delivered with confidence and clarity, and people sense it. People sense it when you are not confident in your own value. Yeah. So it's a matter of like, when we're looking at, we're talking about finances right now, but we're going to talk about inner wealth in a moment. But when something is not in the energy, it's not right in your body, how much do you charge for that gig? That's 5 grand. Thanks. Yeah. And we'll need extra for this and this and this. Right? When you're able to speak it with clarity, with certainty, and know that what you deliver is going to be worth that, and that they are actually getting an absolute bargain, or not even a bargain, but they're just like going to get best value in what you're sharing. When you're able to deliver that with confidence, people sense that, right? People, oh, and this is leading on to relationships, right? So people will treat you the way that you treat yourself. People will treat you with the level of respect and the level of value that you treat yourself. So there is like, it's like when you go to somebody's house and it's beautiful and clean, and the carpets are vacuumed and the floor is nice and clean, and you instantly feel the level of respect that is given to the space. You're not going to walk into that house with your dirty shoes and put your feet up on the couch, and you know, it's, you're going to treat it with a certain, people treat others the way that they sense that they treat themselves. So on a flip side, if I walk into a house and there's just like shit everywhere, it's dirty, it smells, there's like pizza boxes everywhere and cigarette butts on the floor, like, people are going to treat it the way that they perceive it is. Is this making sense? Right? It's a thing called mirror theory in relationships. Now, I just want to flag, like, things like abusive relationships. This is a completely complex dynamic that is completely different, right? There's a lot of layers to that. So just take this information in a general regard. But we relate to others the way that they relate to themselves. And also, people will treat you the way that you treat yourself. The universe will deliver to you the things that you do for yourself and the way that you are for yourself. Okay. And this applies not just to money, doesn't apply just in a romantic relationship. I'm referring to relationships with everything. Your relationship to your creativity, other people will sense that. Your relationship to your business, your relationship to your health, your relationship to yourself as a man or as a woman, right? People are going to relate to you based on what they sense from the way you relate to yourself. Does this make sense? So, like, when you come across someone who is rude or aggressive or nasty, it's unless it is personal, it's generally never personal. right? It's generally a reflection of how they speak to themselves. Yeah, that's how their own inner voice speaks to them. So from this perspective, what we have gone into this week is looking at, okay, so what is inner wealth? How do we raise our vibration? How do we actually raise our own point of value? And really, like, it's really self love, guys. That's what it is. It's like, how do we really love ourselves on such a deep level? Because when we do that, when we are investing internally, when we're nourishing ourselves, when we're holding ourselves in a high level of esteem and self respect, this is what's going to be transmitted. It's what's going to be going into all of our work, all of our into our creations. Okay, so what I've put together in this week's module is you're getting a free copy of our ebook, which is called Vibrate Higher. It has all different resources for you to have a look through in terms of self-love and self-care, right? So on a physical level, we're looking at exercise, we're looking at diet, we're looking at, okay, so sleep, how are you caring for yourself when you're sleeping? Are you getting enough sunshine? Are you eating enough vitamins, adequate foods? Like, how are you actually physically caring for your body? We're looking at mindset too, like, mindfulness. How are you taking care of your mind, your nervous system, regulating your nervous system, clearing out your space, even things like making boundaries with other people. When other people are disrespecting you, it's like, this is where we have to start to draw our lines of like what we will accept and what we don't accept, right? It's really up to us to make those distinctions about, yeah, what level we're going to put ourselves at. Yeah. So yeah, there's all resources around like mindset, and also on a spiritual, emotional level too. We're looking at expression and creativity and connection and purpose, and even just our connection with the divine, our connection with source, our God, universe, whatever word feels most resonant for you, right? These are all resources that Nikolai and I put together for you. We actually have another mini program, which is called Vibrate Higher, where we spend 28 days together going through each of these. And we actually every second day as a group, we kind of check in with ourselves. Like, okay, how are we looking after our health right now? How are we looking after our fitness? Nikolai's like recorded a bunch of workouts too. So you get to work out with him on the island, on the beach. And we've put like recipe books together of all our favorite plant-based recipes, and you get to cook. Like, we make videos of that. We've got videos of us like cooking in the kitchen and doing yoga with us and doing meditations, and we take you through this whole 28-day journey. So I'll tell you about that another time, but you have the book there, right? So it's like all the information that you need, and some of it might be so basic where you're like, yep, I know this. I know that I need to eat healthy, right? Or I know that I need to exercise. But some of it might just be a really great opportunity to check in with yourself. Because even though we know things intellectually, sometimes it's like we actually have to go, oh, well, I know that I should be doing that, but actually I haven't been, or life has been busy, or things have come up, or I just haven't felt myself lately. And I haven't really been really loving myself. I haven't really been honoring my own needs and my own self-care. So, yeah, so some of it might be real, like, no-brainer. Some of it might be completely new. Some of it might be stuff that you've never even thought of, right? But I've tried to approach this module from a really holistic perspective in terms of valuing ourselves on all levels: physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, all of these different aspects of ourselves, right? So, all right, I want to do a quick check-in, and I want to just tune in, like, where is everybody at? What is coming up for y'all? And if you want to workshop something, or even just get some reflection, or even just speak into the space and see what comes through, you're welcome to.
It all makes sense, Kat. I was just gonna say I've also moved my thing so I can stay till 12 because I really want to listen. It sort of felt like it was right on the cusp at about 11:40, so I texted my next meeting. Yeah, the thing that keeps coming up, and I'm sure you've both experienced it as musicians, is like, there is the greater narrative that there isn't enough work. But like I always keep saying, it's obviously something that is present, but as you said, it's not strong enough. It's not in my vibration. There is enough work. There is enough wealth. Like if we actually invited people to support us rather than begged, there actually is enough going around if only we could actually invite people in a way that sheds light on what's valuable. So one of the big things that's been coming up as a result of doing other stuff is I've really kind of gone, I'm actually going to engage a producer. I'm so burnt out. And some of it, I need to talk to my band and relook how we share money. And some of it, it might be even a tiny bit that I put in myself as something for myself, even though in the long run, that's not the business model that I want to uphold because it doesn't hold it. But what keeps coming up is this thing of, but the industry's destroyed by COVID, or there's hardly any work. And so I'm constantly trying to go, how can I, without sounding aloof, create a resonant statement that says there can be enough work, there is enough value, there is enough need for what we do, there is enough emotional, psychological, all the other non-artistic types of support for people in what we do, in an environment that constantly tells you, even if they accept you, but it's got, but it's going to be hard, but there's hardly any work, but hardly anyone succeeds. But and that's something that really came up, like what you asked us at the beginning. With my family, the value was education. Whatever you choose, education. Highlight, so I've got a PhD in music because whatever you do it to a PhD level. But there hasn't been, like what you spoke a couple of weeks ago, there hasn't been championing of my performance work. There's been championing of my teaching work because it's steady and realistic. But I've never been more than tolerated for my performance work, for example. And that's how we take we're sort of tolerated in the society as artists. Very occasionally championed. So how do we, how does each one of us, or how do I now rewire the narrative and go, if only we could let people champion us, they would. They don't know how to champion us. So it's quite big, but that's sort of what's been really playing in my mind.
Yeah, I really hear you on that, and I want to acknowledge the COVID situation because it is an extreme circumstance and it is not a normal case, like in terms of things shutting down and the practicalities of like venues not being able to open or not being able to have, certain number of patrons. And I'm not fully sure of what the situation is in Melbourne right now, but just based on here as well, there is a practicality that is not normal, right? So I just want to acknowledge that. And I also want to acknowledge that that this age-old story has been going on forever, right? Like this narrative that's so strong, and I know because I've processed it, I've been through it myself so much, right? This like you can't make money from music. It's like this artists just constantly tell these stories as well. It's so deeply ingrained that it's hard to make money from music, and yet at the same time, there's actually people making huge amounts of money from music, like enormous. And it's back to my analogy about the BMW and the Ford. What's the difference? They're both cars, right? But one has actually built a brand that's based on it's set a certain value, and with that value comes a whole kind of if you drive a BMW, it has a certain kind of, like, you're in a certain kind of clique or a certain club, there's a certain level of society that represents. And Music is kind of the same because every kind of genre has its own community that gets built around it, right? And whether that's a cultural community or whether it's just like a genre, stylistic, subculture that's built around it. Different artists hold different value frequencies, and I know this because I've been an artist who literally started busking for coins on the street, and I've also been an artist who's been paid very well in playing in different festivals and playing in certain bands where I've been paid very abundantly, right? So I know that there's like this, and when I reflect on that, I'm like, well, it's not that that was better than that, it's just that that was valued and recognized by institutions, in terms of the quality. It wasn't really a different, I mean, yeah, definitely there was maybe a little difference in quality. It was probably a better production, but that's not why it attracted more money, right? It was because when I think about it, those bands were sponsored by organizations that had funding, and that funding was attributed to that particular project because that represented a need that needed to be filled within the quota, right? So it's about like, how do we transcend these stories of lack, there's not enough, and not even just lack and there's not enough, but even if we do get it, we're not going to get paid well, or we won't be valued for our work. And the thing is that we need to find the need. People value something when there's a need for it. So like what you're saying, like how actually does your work help people feel a need? So for example, right now we're going through these massive global shifts. It's like the level of depression, anxiety, mental health issues, like suicide rates. I think I read recently that there's been like more suicides than COVID deaths in Melbourne, or like, I don't know, I haven't followed the news there, but um, there is an epidemic of mental health issues, right? That's a need. There's a huge need. There's a huge market there. And, music is something that really fits that need. It really does. It really helps people. There's so many capacities in that. It's like performance. Community is another need, like needing to bring people together to unite community, particularly after lockdowns and things like that. I'm sure that there's probably government initiatives or things that are being rolled out in terms of, trying to bring people together. If they're not, there will be, I'm sure. People need social connection. It's about identifying, okay, what are the needs and how can I specifically meet those needs and communicate the value that I provide to them. So, for example, like Lauren, we talked in the past about your business helping people. You have a certain need, right? The people that you're here to serve have a certain need with their health issues, right? So it's like, how are you able to provide your service in a way that's going to support them? Because that's what value is. Like money, the energy of money is actually one person's perceived value in exchange for another person's perceived value. That's all it is. Money is just energy. I just see money as like a bit of a game, right? It's like, this is one person's concept of value, this is a need, and this is what I'm able to provide, and this is the value that's going to fill that need. Is that making sense? Yeah. So, what we want to work out is like, ooh, what's the void? So the void is like the gap, the thing that's missing, the thing that's lacking, the thing that's needed. And then how can we get you in the vortex, right? I talk about the vortex in the module video of this week. The vortex is the place where everything that you desire already exists. So all the gigs with all the money, getting well paid, getting well valued, all the clients, all the supporters. How do you step into that energy as if you've already got it and you've already done it? So feel the difference. If I'm like, you mentioned around how do we get people to support? right? It's like, please come to my gig. Please to come support my gig. I'd really like it if you were there. Please, I really need you to come to my gig. And you feel the desperation and the energy of lack. Like there's not enough people on the planet. There's only like a few billion, and I need you to come to my gig, please. It's so repulsive. Like it repels. It's a repelling energy because it's scarcity and it's lack. But you feel the difference when, like, if I'm in the vortex of like, people already support me, people champion me, people love the work that I do. The work that I do changes people's lives. It totally just elevates them and they can't wait to be around it. Come to my gig on Saturday night. It's going to be amazing. The whole community is going to be there. I'm going to be playing with my band. We're going to be recording. We're going to live stream it. It's going to be awesome. Feel the difference in the energy, because that's coming from a place of abundance. There's more than enough. There's more than enough opportunities. There's more than enough love. There's more than enough support. There's more than enough people who are going to come and enjoy it. And when we can get in that vortex, that place, that vibrational place where it's like, it's already happened. It's already happening. There's already going to be so many people at the gig. You should come and join. But it's already going to be there because I've already got the support. And it's about like getting in the energy as if it's already happened. Does that make sense? Does that land? All right. So, any other, Lauren? Is there anything that is coming up for you that you want to workshop, or you want to just share, or even Nella, if there's anything else that popped up, anything?
Yeah, I've just been quiet because I've just been trying to take it all in, and it's been, yeah, pretty real and topical, because I was actually having a similar conversation with a friend during the week, because I have two different friendship groups, one that I've known for like 20 years, since year 7, and one that I've only known for a few years. Yeah, the year 7s, but like they're my high school friends, and then the few years we've met through brass band. But even though I've known my high school friends for so long, it sort of got to the point where I feel more out of place with them than I do with the people that I've only known for a few years. And it's got to the point where, like, if something happens and I'm excited about and want to share something, or feeling crap, they're the ones that I just think of first and want to go to immediately. And I feel actually like, I don't know, safer, I guess, and like I'm going to be valued more in that group. So yeah, it's just been reflecting on that, as well as the value that I bring to teaching and performing, and yeah, like the way that I see myself through my health, and yeah, like being born with a lack of particular chromosome and all that. Like it's just, that core belief has been something that I've been dealing with my whole life. So it's sort of felt like I'm less than most people, even though I'm not. But it's, yeah, it's part of the things that I'm sort of dealing with over the last week or so, and last months or so, I guess. And yeah, it's just been, I was surprised to see that this was the topic, because I haven't actually looked at the content. I'll be honest, I haven't looked at the content all week. So just the fact that it was so topical from what we've been talking about during the week and now today. So yeah, I've just been taking it all in.
Thank you for sharing that. And it's really normal that as we grow and we expand and we evolve internally, that the external world is going to show up different for us, but also we're going to feel differently about it. So people that may have really resonated with us when we were in a certain phase in our life
Mm.
no longer going to be a vibrational match. We're no longer going to feel connected to them, or we're no longer going to feel drawn to them or attracted to spending time with them. Or maybe the same, like they might feel triggered by our growth, or they might not feel, they might not no longer resonate with us when we change.
Mm.
And if that's the case, good, right? Because there's abundance, right? This is what I mean by abundance. There's so many people out there. There's billions of people on the planet that you can connect with and have friendships with and connect with on a deep soul level, right? None of us knew each other a few months ago, right? And it's like there's so many people on the planet. There is no shortage. And when we're not resonating with someone, but we're holding on because it's like they're our friends, or there's scarcity, we need to hold on to them, it doesn't serve us, and it also doesn't serve them. So it's really normal that as we grow and evolve, that we're gonna just naturally be drawn to different types of people, and we're gonna resonate with different people and different kind of groups. And it's a really good sign. It's often a really good sign that we're evolving. And that's the essence of this module. It's like change the world by starting within. That's like one of my slogans, right? Change the world, start within. Because when we love us, when we nourish us, when we value us, when we change the way that we show up in the world for us, or even just change our beliefs about us, the world around us is going to look different. We're going to align with different people. We're going to attract new opportunities. We're going to open up to things that we'd probably never even thought of before. New relationships or lovers might come into our life that are going to align with us, or business ideas or things are going to drop in that we wouldn't have even thought about before. It all has to start with us. It's like, how are we loving ourselves and how are we holding ourselves? And the universe is going to reflect that back to us. And I want to reflect to you also, like what I hear and what you're saying is that there is a belief somewhere in your system around your medical condition, your health condition, equaling less than, right? And this is something that I've heard you say a few times before, and I want to really invite you to go through the process of reframing that. Like we can even do it in our private session, because I know we have a private session, a one-on-one coming up at some stage. But if you believe that about yourself, this is going to be reflected. This is going to be transmitted. This is going to be felt by others, right? And it's going to show up for you over and over again. It's going to be reflected to you over and over again, right? And it's like, I really invite you to see, like, is that actually true? Is that true that anyone with any kind of medical condition or health condition is somehow less than, right? So I want to give you an example of this, right? When I was younger, I had PTSD when I was younger, okay? I struggled a lot with anxiety. I struggled a lot with anxiety attacks and things like this as a youth. And I also, at some stage in my life, felt like this is like something that makes me less than, or I'm not as good as, or I'm weak, or I am somehow, what's that word? Like faulty for having this, right, experience. And I have to say, years later, that I never ever would have gone and studied psychotherapy. I never would have actually gone and trained in yoga and meditation and mindset, hypnosis. I wouldn't have done NLP. Like, the reason that I had that issue led me to doing all the things that I'm doing now. That's why I can talk with confidence about so many of these things, because that thing that made me less than, or that thing that I felt was faulty about me, was actually my biggest blessing. And it was fucking hard at the time to go through that. Like, I'll be honest, I don't want to make light of your experience or your condition at all, to say that it's just easy, just reframe it. It's not like that. But it's like, on the other side, who knows, like, why you've had this experience. I don't know why. This is between you and God, right? It's between you and creator. But what is that leading you to do? There's no way that I could help people process things and go to the depths or create transformation in their life if I personally hadn't had those struggles or had those experiences where I've had to face those demons and go to those places within myself and learn how to navigate. Like, there's no way that I could do the work that I'm doing. So it's like, I really believe that some of these things that we think are our pain points or our weakness or the things that are like wrong about us, often it's like our pain is the portal to our greatest power. What's that saying? I think it's, I don't know who said it, but it's like the wound is where the light gets in. I think it's Rumi. The wound is where the light gets in. If we allow our, like, the light to enter into those parts of us that are vulnerable and fragile, I have no doubt, Lauren, and it's like, what could be on the other side of this? And I know the dreams on your heart to be able to support others and help others, and, you know, to be able to use your music and use your creativity to be able to help people who have similar conditions work through stuff, right? I know that that's part of your mission and part of your plan in wanting to be able to support others. And it's like, how will you be able to support them if you don't first know how to support yourself? Right? So this is where it's going to start. It's like, for whatever reason, this is part of your journey. And until you embrace it and you really, like, it's not something that's in your way, it is your way. It is on your way. It is leading you to learn the skills, the resources, the abilities. How can you have compassion and empathy and actually know how to guide people through those experiences if you haven't faced them yourself? So how could this actually be your biggest blessing? And how, like, even it's something I encourage you after our session to even journal on, like, how, how has this actually been a positive in your life, or how could it be a positive in your life? How could you use this to your advantage rather than seeing it as something wrong with you?
I know that one, like the biggest positive influence is that, like, my mum's way of dealing with it when I was born was that she got a support group, made a support group with made some friends with it. And that small group is, I don't know if you've heard of Heart Kids, but they founded the Heart Kids because, yeah, they all had kids with heart conditions. So, yeah, what started as like 5 mothers in somebody's living room has now turned into a company all around Australia, helping other mothers and parents with, yeah, kids born with heart problems. So, yeah, that's one positive.
Yeah. So, you know, we have to kind of look for the opportunities where we can transform our pain points into being our power, right? So the fact that you've had this condition has meant that it's placed a desire in your heart to be able to want to support others, right? But in order for you to get to that place, it, it's going to require you to go into the depths of what does it really mean to support yourself first, you know? And all the things that you know in the future you will be holding space for and teaching others and facilitating others and supporting others. It's like, okay, well, we got to start here first, right? So how can you love yourself in the highest way? How can you take care of yourself? How can you support yourself? How can you help rebuild, you know, certain aspects that you want to, right? It has to all start within. And any time that we're like trying to help everyone else in the world before we've actually done the inner work, we just step into martyr energy. And that martyr energy is like when we're burnt out. People are like sort of burnt out and they're trying to help everyone. And it's like, go help yourself. You know, it's like, it's got to start within. And then when we operate from that place, life is easy. Life becomes easy. we don't have to try so hard. It's just like, this is how we treat ourselves. So it's just natural for us to do that. So, all right. So blessings. I am going to leave it there. I know, Nala, you have to go now. If there's anything else that you want to just share and reflect, Lauren, before we close the space, otherwise we might wrap up the call.
No, thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
both so much. Yeah, and Lauren, I'll connect with you. If you want to do more content, it would be great to
That'd
connect
be great.
again. Yeah, yeah.
That'd be great.
I'll ask you at some point when we have time, Kat. One of the things, I mean, I'll flesh it out a bit more in writing. When you were explaining to us inviting people from scarcity and from abundance, I would love to hear some guidance on like what you've taught us before on a resonant and truthful bridging statement, so that you don't jump into, yeah, oh my God, it's happening in a false way. Like, what can we truthfully support and embody abundance whilst also knowing that we're on the way. Yeah, so that's something that would be personal, particularly being someone who's quite extroverted and quite high. Like, I don't want to suddenly go into some kind of dramatic, exaggeration of something that I absolutely am not holding, but to really work with this and build on it, and how to best, access that, because you can repel people the other way as well. You repel people by not being true. Yeah.
That's that's exactly what I mean in terms of the energy fuckery. We'll step in
Yeah.
and we'll you back to your place.
Yeah.
We can talk about it more next week, but just in a short answer, because I know you've got to go. It's like, we have to find evidence and we have to focus on that evidence. So we have to be like, that one person that supported you and liked your post and came to the gig, like, thank you so much. Like, awesome, great. It's like gratitude, having gratitude and cultivating that gratitude for the evidence that we have, and then actively seeking that evidence. Yeah,
makes sense.
That's just a little short answer, but I'm happy to like jam on that a little more with you next week if you like.
Thank you.
So next week we'll just close out. We'll do a bit of a closing ceremony, and I'll give you all the details in the week. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, and next week I was hoping we could do an hour later. Is that going to work for everybody?
Yeah.
I'll send you all the details. Okay.
Okay.
Big love.
Thank you.
Bye.